I'm Jeremy Sisto, and you're watching LifeMinute TV.
Actor Jeremy Sisto has been a mainstay on stage and screen for years, from his iconic roles in Clueless, 6 Feet Under, Law & Order, and Jesus, even lending his voice to Frozen. His latest role is Special Agent Jubal Valentine on CBS's FBI. Sisto sat down with us in studio recently to tell us all about it and more. This is a Life Minute with Jeremy Sisto. Woohoo! Jeremy Sisto in the house. Yay! Thanks for joining us on Life Minute.
Thanks for cheering for me.
So glad to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good, I think. I'm a little tired at this moment. I don't know why exactly, because I was just in Guitar Center, and it's an exhausting experience in guitar. Everyone's playing the different. But in general, I'm good. I'm very happy with my show. And
FBI, seventh season.
Seventh season?
It's amazing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm Jubal Valentine, the ASAC over at 26 Fed.
Tell us about it for those that don't know a little bit about it.
So, well, it follows a team of agents. The FBI, the way they work is when there is an active shooter or an active threat, all of these agents and analysts and representatives from different organizations pile into a room with screens everywhere, and they're just siphoning information through them out to the agents in the streets. And so it basically is, it follows a group of agents and it gets into some of their personal life, but largely it's, dealing with these threats, these situations that they weren't able to prevent, which the FBI is very good at preventing stuff. They keep a track, but the show follows more the ones that they were not able to prevent, and they slipped through the cracks, and now we have to kind of clean up the mess. And
tell us about your character a little bit.
Jubal Valentine. Yeah, it's been a cool character. I mean, with a show like this, when I met with Dick about it, in a way, we were trying to, of course, in these procedurals, oftentimes there is some version of the tech version back in the office, but this particular sort of usage of this FBI mechanism as a device in one of these shows was something we were trying out. And the characters on shows like this, you kind of are allowed to find them as you go along. Our original creator, who wasn't on the show too long, I think had an idea of where everyone was going to go, but this show has really been a process of sort of slowly finding it. And Jubal has, he's been a really great character. There's been sort of different, largely tragic elements of his past that are perhaps shameful or where he strayed from the good path, but also some very tragic occurrences in his life. So a lot has happened to him, but somehow they've managed to stay grounded within the character as well. So I feel very lucky to be at this point where the character is complex to some degree, but also fun to watch and fun to be around. And Dick Wolf was who I'm referring to, who's a large figure in my life, so I refer to him as Dick, assuming everyone knows. But yeah, Dick Wolf created this. We say our thanks to him over dinner at my house.
You're kind of like a pro in this character. You're so good at it. You're so good. How did you get into, playing it?
Yeah, it's a certain situation that I sort of fits me and my skill set well. Like, I enjoy trying to make things feel spontaneous and bringing life to them. And what we have to do in that room is just a really specific type of trick, that I enjoy doing, which is trying to make it feel like it's happening, it's real, it's alive, and yet the information's got to be very clearly. So, I don't know, that particular thing is something that for whatever reason keeps me on my toes. It's almost like a sport in there, we like throw ourselves into it, and it's pretty easy to tell, like, this isn't working. You know what I mean? It's like doing a gymnastic trick or something, and you're like, oh, I didn't do the flip, and then we have to start over again because everything's connected. All the different extras, all the people in the room are passing the energy back and forth. And then it kind of creates an engine for the show. And then also, like I said, the writers have been able to explore his sort of personality and his backstory and his home life and all that stuff in a way that has continued to feel real. And that stuff's fun for me as well. I mean, that kind of acting is, in a way, it's just different. There's not as many tricks in that other thing. When you're just like talking to your son, you're talking to your wife, you're trying to work through something. That's something I can relate to more. The other thing is almost like I see it like some like black box theater and off Broadway.
And do you do film here? You do, right? The show.
We do, yeah, in Brooklyn. Yeah, we're at the Broadway stages over in Greenpoint. And then it's a very New York sort of, like Law and Order. It tries to use the city in a way that as a character.
How real is it, do you think, to real, New York law?
Well, I think there's a lot more paperwork than the actual FBI. We're going to do a spin-off called FBI Paperwork, but it's going to be, I don't know what channel, hasn't been picked up yet. It's a lot of preventative. in the FBI, either following people to track people. I have friends in the FBI. I was sitting with one of them. They got a call, at dinner, and then they had to decide whether or not to let somebody into the country based on a few facts, and they had to make that decision to go back to dinner. So they're making big decisions all the time, but no, what happens every week for us doesn't happen very often because they're good at their jobs. It's got to be, wouldn't be as exciting, It's you got to have a whole story in 42 minutes, but there are certain elements to it that we're using that I was really excited about in how connected they are, to these other agencies and how quickly they pass information along and how powerful a mechanism it is to stop acts of crime in action and also try to hit at different other human aspects of what it means to have a job with stakes this high and what that means for one's personal life and relationship with other coworkers and stuff. So I don't know, the combination of all that stuff and, loving the people and loving being on a sort of the stable Dick Wolf sort of vehicle is, and I get to be there for my family. I'm not traveling around. I spent so much of my life just looking for work and trying to convince people to give me jobs. More time out of that world is it's good for my. It wasn't great for me. I still have a great need to be for approval and stuff, and having to go over to a job interview after the next. It's
well, you've had so many good roles.
Yes, and that was like 0.001% of the things I asked to be.
Really?
Yeah, that's just the life of an actor.
Fell into your lap, or?
Well, no, you just get told no mostly, and then you get lucky with the one, and you try to make the most of it. And I'm just very fortunate right now to be in this vehicle.
Well, we are, and I loved you in 6 Feet Under.
I think it's really cool you live in a funeral home.
6 Feet Under, yeah, that was a great one, yeah. That was
so
fun.
Good, so good. And that role was written for you?
Ish, yeah. I tested for David, Michael C. Hall's character, and didn't get that, but I guess he liked me, and so he said, yeah, do this one scene in this pilot, and if it goes, I have an idea for that character, and so I'm sure the character was around before me, but actually I'm not sure how it all came together. I'm not sure how far he had thought. So it's an interesting question because by the time I got there, I started coming on the 7th episode more fully, and by the end of the first season, it was like Alan just knew these characters like they were his family. But I'm not sure where that started, the creative process, I wonder. But yeah, by the time I was there, and throughout the time, it was a character that he just understood. All the writers just understood this guy. That was really nice. I've been on other ones where the writers are kind of trying to find him. I'm trying to find him, and it's never quite fully formed, but there was something clear, and juxtaposition of me with this character, it just kind of worked in a way. And
yeah, it sure did. It was so powerful. And so many great films, Ferdinand, Suicide Kings, Waitress. You played Jesus.
I did,
What
yeah.
was that like?
It was fun. I mean, God, I was a young man, so it's all colored by that. That was just my youth. I was like, I wish I was Jesus again. It was a great experience. I must have been 23 or something. I was too young for Jesus. Wow. It was great. I went to Morocco and became good friends with my disciples and had a upside down face. They shaved my head and I had hair here. So the whole pitch from the director was he's like, so we're going to make a Jesus. All those Jesus movies, the guy's kind of creepy. You wouldn't follow him through the desert. We're going to make a Jesus that kind of parties, that you'd like to hang out with. So I was like, I like it. I'm in. And so sometimes he'd be like, give me that Jesus smile. And there are still some churches that, it's actually a very good Jesus for the younger audience, I think. It teaches them those stories in a way that's, it was a really nice experience. But it was also surreal and kind of silly. And it was one of the first jobs that really I felt I was afraid. I was acting. I was like, God, I'm going to mess this up. How do I continue this career that's so random and I don't know what the heck I'm doing? They were like, play Jesus. I was like, all right, if I'm going to play Jesus, I'm not going to question it because it's so ridiculous in a way. And so that gave me a certain freedom that allowed me to kind of, have a good time with it.
You play Jesus, you can play anybody, right? And of course, Clueless, the iconic film Clueless.
Ew, get off of me. As if.
Do you think that was your most famous role, or one of?
Well, sure. I mean, that's a very famous movie. To have a movie like that sort of continues to be relevant for a generation after 30 years or something. It's like, at the time I was 19, 20, whenever it came out, and it was for a slightly younger audience, and I was out in Hollywood trying to do serious movies, so I was a little I wasn't the audience for it when it was made. So it took me a while to fully appreciate it, but now it's like, it's pretty special to be in something that has, just been a part of, when I was growing up, it was like the John Hughes movies, and still to this day, if I run into any of those actors, I'm like, so they're like deities for me. So the fact that both my kids have gone through the years where they've dressed up as, the Clueless characters during Halloween. Thanks.
Also, the voice of Frozen 2. That was
was
interesting.
great.
I
That
never
was
realized
awesome.
that.
Magic makes people feel too powerful, too entitled. It makes them think they can defy the will of a king.
Yeah, no, it was. I came in like twice, and then I went to the premiere, and they were like, "And Jim," I was like, "Thank you, I did this." But no, I didn't really do it. I just showed up and was very happy to be there. But those movies take so much work. They start years. I've been in early concepts of certain ones where they make a version of the movie just with images. It takes years to develop it. So to some degree, acting is always that. Like, you come in after a lot of the hard work is done, and then you take credit for everything. Voiceover is even more so.
You're really modest, huh?
In Frozen, yeah.
Did your
That's
kids
what-
like that too? They must have liked that.
Yeah, I remember they went to the premiere, and it was a very big deal. And so it was cool. It was really a lovely surprise.
Did you always know you wanted to be an actor?
When I was young, I didn't want to be an actor. I was an actor just because my mom, single mom, and she was pursuing acting. So me and my sister started doing plays, and those were really good experiences. I did Tennessee. My first play was Tennessee Williams' last play when he was still alive, and just being at these theaters with these adults who were playful but mature and nice, but it wasn't about the acting. Or just like I wasn't that enamored with it or anything. My mom was. She loved the whole thing, so it kind of like just made sense. But by the time high school rolled around, I wasn't that into school. I was playing in my rock band. I couldn't really foresee like a job or what, So the fact that and I got this acting job, so immediately I jumped on it. At that point, I was like, acting is my thing. I'm going to do it. I love it. And that's when I realized I had no idea what it was, and went through a few years of trying to figure out. A lot of people out in Hollywood will tell you what it is. You're like, oh, that's what it is, and you show up on set. You try to do it, you're like, I don't know if I did it. They're like, and then eventually they give you Jesus, and you're like, how would you do it, Jesus? And Jesus said, do it the way you want.
You've produced a number of films too. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
I did for a little while. I'm not great at it though. It's really, it's like going out and selling it, trying to find people to give you money. And so it's like, I did it for a while. There was a while where I was like trying to do a thing, but I was like a weird desperate. I would go out and try to meet rich people. Like, hey, you like movies? It was just not a good look for me. And then I'd follow it through. And I have something that is seems to be coming together that I kind of have not done too much of that, but a little bit to help out. And I don't know, it's its own skill set. It's just, I like to make things better. I love developing things. I love working on things. I'm working on scripts and stuff like that. But yeah, to some degree, feeling like you have agency to try to make something better, is kind of a producerial aspect of things, and trying to encourage people to bring the best out of them. I try to do that in my own way as an actor. Producing is not, I don't think it has any specific, some people do it some way and other people do it, so it's not really, it's hard to say, but I know that I don't like asking people for money. That's not, or trying to convince people to like, that's just not my skill set.
Not your thing. No. Well, you're a musician. Tell us about that.
Yeah, my dad is a jazz musician, but I didn't grow up with him. And then I was in a rock band in high school and played rock bands. But over the last 6-7 years, I've studied more about theory and guitar and actually tried to improve in a different way. I was a songwriter, so it was just a way to express myself always. And so I've tried to add a little bit more skill or understanding of it to that. So it's become a really nice part of my life. I convinced my wife to learn the drums, and we jam together. I've got I'm about to put out a few songs with one guy that I'm working with, and I'm going to put out some more. It's a different kind of world now. Music is very easy to put out, so.
What does it sound like?
Well, I did do an album like 10 years ago under a name called Escape Taylor, and I was calling it Freak Folk as the type of music it was, or somebody else made that up. But yeah, just whatever, rock, folk.
Who were your influences growing up?
Growing up, when I was in high school, it was we did mostly Rolling Stone songs, a lot of 70s and classic rock kind of stuff. And then different people throughout the year. When I made my album, I was really into the National and stuff like that. There's different bands that pop up and that I'm getting really excited about. But I'm writing with a lot of different artists musicians that I think are great, and I'm starting to like slowly be able to take myself seriously as a musician. Not there yet, but I'm getting to a point where I can sit in a room with whoever and feel like, all right, we can create something.
And you just self-taught?
Well, most of my life, but I've been actually doing courses and stuff for the last 6 years. Now I have a little bit more, but it's a great thing to pick up later in life because it's an endless amount of knowledge. Music is theory. There's no bottom to that. It's a version of creativity that works for me. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the music in my life right now.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. You have to come back here and play. What do you like to do in New York when you're not working?
Well, my friend David Walton, who's an actor, is going through a midlife crisis and started to do stand-up. He's doing a podcast called Starting Stand-Up. So I was out with him last night, and I actually did an open mic on my own just to like support him. Very strange experience. Yeah, that was always one of those things where I was like, I hope I just do that one day.
Oh, that's so
cool. And I've done it, so now maybe I'll do it again someday. But but just being down and listening to music, and we live in about an hour north, but I wished I lived in the city because I just really thrive off of all of the people here just trying to create things, and I just respond to that, trying to find meaning in their own way,
And you have 2 kids. How do you balance everything, work and home life?
Well, it's a great job. I have a great job because my stuff is in a studio, so we can do 10 pages a day. So when I go to work, I'm there on your feet just trying to figure all the stuff out. But then my coworkers have to go out and do these action scenes, and they take a lot longer. So I have a lot of days off is my point. So I've been able to be present, perhaps too present for some of the people in my family. Yeah. My daughter's like, can you please go to work? It's really that. It's just that's the big adjustment right now is, having like preteens and teens is trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be anyway. Because I loved hanging out with them when they were younger. We'd play games. We'd have, and now they don't want to quite as much. Yeah. So what am I just here to like nag them? I don't want to be that. That's boring. And I'm not great at advice. I get nervous. My wife does that. So I'm like, what do? We just living together? I just drive you places. It's really I'm like an Uber service, but like one of those bad Uber drivers who's like, what are you interested in, sir? I'm always trying to talk to my kids. They don't want to talk to me.
They'll come around again. I know. I'm right there too. What's your biggest life lesson for a young actor?
My advice is always like, I have no idea if this is even going to be a business in 5 years. So if you really like it, just do it as much as possible. Because in LA, so many people who are like actors, but they never acted. They were just waiting for the phone to ring, waiting to get a thing. And I was like, that's not the same thing. You know what I mean? It's and that's fine. Having some value on success within this industry it's not great. That having that be your career is trying to get validation from some, nebulous kind of whatever. That's not a great choice. But if you like, being in front of people and whatever it is with acting, you like people watching you while you try to work things out and hope that they are sort of inspired by it in some way. If that for some reason makes sense to you, then you'll do it and you'll be doing it and continue to do it. But I don't even know now. Now it's YouTube. I don't even know what with YouTube and the different social medias, I don't know what young actors are looking for anymore. I mean, I've had multiple people lately, just like friends of kids, and be like, into acting. I'm like, oh, great. So you've done what plays have you done? You done this? He's like, I'm thinking more of like YouTube, those little YouTube videos you do. And it's like, that's like their dream they want to do. I'm like, that's great. I don't know anything about that. I don't even know what that seems like. They need a writer on that. They need it's just a different a version of things. So, but I was never great advice for young actors because I got lucky. I got a job when I was 16 that gave me an agent. And so I never had to like come out to LA or New York and be like, look at me, I'm good enough to do this. It was that I have respect for those people who were just like, who just have a dream and are following it,
Somebody just see that and say, that jerk.
What's that?
That jerk, somebody's going to say.
No, it's not.
No, it's because you're talented. And you're just talented.
It's not. I was lucky. I mean, the role that I got was Larry Kasdan. It was like very legendary and kind of the time had a lot of heat. And he wrote a role based on his son, who is my age and have a similar demeanor. And I couldn't have written that to be the right thing. Not to say it wouldn't have happened another way, perhaps, but there's so much in life that's luck. It's like all luck. It really is. Even the fact that you get lucky to be born with the right chemistry. I mean, the whole thing is so much luck in this life.
So what's next for you? What's something you want to do you haven't done yet? You've done a lot, including stand-up
there's this
comedy.
movie that we're about to shoot in our hiatus, but I don't feel like I can talk about it yet. But it's got another actor in it who's really very famous, and hopefully that'll be great. I haven't been one of those in a long time, where it's like I used to do those a ton back in the 90s, 2000s. They're those kind of little independents, and it's just a different industry now. So I'm very excited about having that and about my music, and also just I'm excited about being on FBI because it's always changing. We have a new team of writers this year. It's really fun to just be on a ride that, we want this thing to go 20 years, but if that occurs, it through many different changes and many different versions of it. So
awesome. That's so cool. I love it.
To hear more of this interview, visit our podcast, LifeMinute TV, on iTunes and all streaming podcast platforms.